You've been told to pray more and worry less, and maybe you've tried. You've journaled, breathed deeply, quoted the right scriptures, and the worry came right back. Here's what most people miss. The Bible doesn't just tell you to stop worrying, it tells you why you cannot stop. And the root it names is not a lack of discipline. It is not a weakness in your character. It is a divided allegiance. And until you see that root clearly, nothing you do on the surface will ever hold. Think about how many people inside the church today are genuinely anxious. Not unbelievers, believers. People with the Bible on their phone, a Sunday routine, and Philippians 4:6 memorized since childhood. And still, the mind spirals at night. Still the chest tightens in the morning. Still the 2 a.m. thoughts refuse to stop. Why is that? If the solution were simply more prayer, more consistency, more spiritual effort, then the most devoted people on earth should also be the most peaceful. But that is not always what we find. And that tells us something important. The problem may not be the amount of effort you are bringing to this. It may be the direction of it. Jesus said something that should stop every anxious believer cold. Not just worry less, something far more precise. And it starts one verse before the passage most people quote. Let's go to Matthew chapter 6, verses 24 and 25. No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. Therefore I tell you, do not be anxious about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, nor about your body, what you will put on. Is not life more than food and the body more than clothing? Notice what Jesus does here. He does not open with worry, he opens with masters. He connects anxiety directly to divided allegiance. And that word therefore in verse 25 is the hinge. It tells you the cause comes before the symptom. Two masters first, worry second. That is not a coincidence. That is the diagnosis. Truth number one, worry is the signal of a divided throne. Notice what Jesus does not say. He does not say you might serve two masters if you're not careful. He says no one can. You literally cannot pull it off. No partial arrangement. No almost working compromise. And here is why that matters for your anxiety. The moment you have two final destinations loaded, God's will on one side, your personal backup plan on the other, your mind enters a state of permanent recalculation. It cannot settle. It does not know which path to commit to, and so it keeps running the same anxious loop over and over again. Think about it this way. You know how a navigation app works. You enter one destination, it maps the route, you follow. Simple. But imagine that same app had two conflicting addresses loaded at once. Two destinations pulling the route in opposite directions. What would it do? It would not give you clarity. It would not give you peace. It would recalculate, and the device would overheat. Not because the road ahead is hard, but because the system is being pulled in two directions simultaneously. Your mind works exactly the same way. When God's will and your safety net are both loaded as the final destination, the recalculating never stops. What you are calling anxiety is your soul telling you there is a conflict in the navigation. So here's the precise question. Not whether you trust God in general, but specifically, is there an outcome you are still holding in reserve? An option you're keeping as your escape route? Because wherever that backup destination is stored, that is exactly where the worry lives. Truth number two, you are carrying a timeline that was never yours. Here's what worry really is at its core. It is an attempt to manage something that was never placed in your hands, the future, the outcome, the when and the how and the whether. Proverbs 16 verse 9 says this, a man's heart plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. The planning is yours, the establishing is his. The moment you try to control the establishing, to calculate and predict and secure what comes next, that is not diligence. That is stepping into a role that was never assigned to you. Think about it this way. Imagine an understudy in a theater. Their whole job is simple. Know your lines, be ready to go on if called. That is it. But imagine this understudy. They have memorized every other actor's lines too. Every one of the director's blocking notes, the lighting cues, the box office projections. They are holding the entire production in their mind every single night. Not because anyone asked, but because they cannot rest unless every variable feels personally accounted for. What is the result? They cannot deliver their own part well. They are too busy managing a production that was never theirs to run. The director never requested it, the cast never needed it, and the weight of carrying all of it is exhausting them for a part they have not even been called onto the stage to perform. Anxiety about tomorrow is exactly this. You are rehearsing scenes that were never assigned to you. Your part is today. The rest belongs to Him. Truth number three, you prayed it, but you never let it go. 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 7 says, "Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you." Now notice the word cast. It is not mention, it is not bring it up in passing, it is a deliberate, complete throw. You are not supposed to walk into God's presence with your worry, hand it halfway across the table, and then pull it back on the way out the door. You're supposed to release it entirely. And here's what most people actually do instead. They pray. They mean every word. They say, "Lord, I give this to you." And then they walk back out and pick it right back up off the floor on the way home. The prayer was real, the intention was genuine, but the release did not happen. Think about it this way. Imagine a courier whose job is simply to deliver parcels. Every morning they collect the packages at the depot, load the van, drive the route. But then, at the end of the day, instead of dropping them at the door and leaving, they bring every single one home. They lay them on the kitchen table, they sort through them, they worry over each address, each name, each deadline, and the next morning they load them all back onto the van and start again. The depot was always ready to receive them back. The dropping was always the whole point of the assignment, but the courier never actually let go. The carrying was not faithfulness, it was a habit dressed up as responsibility. Casting is not a one-time event, it is a posture. You cast it, it tries to come back, you cast it again, every single time. Before we go further, stay with me, because this next part is where this becomes very specific to you. 3 roots, 3 questions. Not to condemn you, not to pile more weight on you, but to show you exactly where the wire is crossed. The divided throne test. Is there an outcome you say you've surrendered? But if God doesn't come through the way you expect, you already know your next move? That hidden reservation is the second master, and the worry is the signal, the timeline test. Are you anxious because you need to know how this ends before you will agree to trust the author? That is not faith, that is negotiation. The uncasted weight test. Did you bring this to God in prayer and then carry it home anyway? Because peace does not follow the prayer alone, it follows the release. Now listen to what God promises on the other side of all 3 of these roots. Isaiah chapter 26, verse 3. You keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on you, because he trusts in you. Perfect peace, not occasional peace, not peace when the circumstances finally cooperate. Perfect peace, promised to the person whose mind is stayed. That word in the Hebrew means fixed, settled, leaning fully against God, not drifting back toward the worry every few hours. And notice what produces that peace. Not effort, not performance, not doing everything right. Trust. Undivided, singular trust. Because worry is the fruit of a divided mind, and peace is the fruit of an undivided one. That is the promise waiting on the other side of the diagnosis. Picture this, a figure standing at the edge of a weathered dock at dawn, hands open and relaxed at their sides, not clenched, not raised in performance, just open and floating on the still water directly in front of them, a large sack marked tomorrow. They are not chasing it, not pulling it back, not staring at it with panic. They are simply standing, face forward, and the first light is spreading gold across the horizon behind them. The dock beneath their feet is solid, the water ahead belongs to God, and the hands, those open hands, those are the ones he fills. The hands that open are the ones he fills. If this video helped you see the root of your worry more clearly today, comment "He holds it" in the comments right now. Just those 3 words. Because someone else is going to scroll through and they need to see it. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button now. We are here every single week going deeper into what the Bible actually says. And may the God of all peace, the one who holds every tomorrow you were never meant to carry, guard your mind and your heart in Christ Jesus. Until next time.